All right, everybody. Our next speaker is a former officer of the Illini Secular Student Alliance, a band leader, and now a robotics engineer. So I hope he leads a band of robots. He's going to be talking about how to do benefit concerts for your group. Give it up for Justin Tanaka.
Thank you. Thank you. My mom got this for me because she said it would look good on stage, so, you know, I'm a good mama's boy, I guess. Okay, I just want to make sure everyone gets settled in. I have time for questions at the end, too, so I want to make sure, hopefully this talk is as practical as possible. I, of course, am an atheist, and so, you know, I've rejected all supernatural claims, but it's a bit of a conflict, I think, for a lead singer in a band and the ego that sort of needs to go with that, because every once in a while I'm on stage and sometimes having maybe a transcendent experience, and just my ego is telling me I'm God-like. And just to get an idea, it's kind of what it's like in my head. That's actually a picture of me before I cut off my long hair and donated it to charity. So charity does rock, and they kind of go hand in hand. So I don't think I need to convince anybody that charity is a good thing, or that atheist group should be heavily engaged and invested in raising money to give to charity. I think you can all, hopefully you're here because you want to do better at that or learn in other fun ways to make that happen. But I do think that putting on a rock concert or whatever, any kind of normal thing that isn't necessarily atheist themed is very important. And part of that is, one example of that is actually 20 minutes before our first benefit concert, as I was going to be playing later, but I was just in the bathroom, and one of the other lead singers from the bands that I booked walked in, and he comes in and he says, So Secular Student Alliance, what is that? I'm sure you've all heard that question. And I actually kind of knew where it was going a little bit, because just after I booked them, we became Facebook friends, and I saw on his wall what we all just love to complain about, a bunch of Bible verses and I love Jesus and all that stuff, which was fine. It was totally fine. But he comes in and he asks me, so what's SSA? I kind of thought he knew what it was, but I said, oh, it's an atheist club. We're social, try to have fun, try to be better members of the community. It's just a community thing. And he says, well, and he gets kind of nervous, and he says, actually, my father's a pastor. And I said, oh, it's cool. My dad's a retired American Baptist minister. That's awesome. We have that in common. And he's like, oh, cool. Okay, see ya. He just left the bathroom. But I think it's great. Actually, we right after that, we put on a great show together. They killed it. And since then, we've actually remained very close. His name is Brian. Brian and I have remained very, very close Facebook friends, on Facebook only. But no. And actually, we start talking on each other's posts, and I actually respect him. There's a lot of mutual respect there. He's a very smart guy, very nice, and we have a good friendship. And we have public discussions about theology. And that was just one relationship budded from something seemingly innocuous, and things like a rock concert or anything else you can think of that your club can have their name behind is very, very influential, I think, and just beneficial in all kinds of ways that you don't even think of, besides making money, which is very, very good. And the main thing I want everyone to understand, if you want to do this, is that it's not that hard. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. People are putting on concerts all the time and making money, making a living on it. And so I want this talk to be very, very practical. I'm going to kind of go very straightforward, and then I have time for questions at the end. But the first thing is, when you're starting out, to understand is that when you're looking at bands at venue, they have to kind of happen simultaneously, because there's a strange catch-22 that happens when you're asking bands to play a benefit for you. They want to know what date and what venue, but when you're asking venues, they want to know what bands. And so it's like, I don't know. So you kind of have to work them kind of together. And so just to start, you can send a feeler email. This is an email I sent to the venue for us, but I don't want you to read it because you won't listen to what I'm talking about. So but the main things is you got to be excited. You have to show passion, because if you just send, hey, I want to have a benefit show on the 16th, is that cool? They won't respond to you, because promoters are want someone who's serious about it. So having excitement, showing passion, just in an email, or in person is even better, but I mean, email's what I did, that's fine. And talk about what the charity is, what your club is, and any past events. And in past events, mention attendance, ways you advertise, groups you worked with. They want to kind of get a feeling that you understand promotion a little bit. And so that's definitely good. And then listing potential bands. Maybe you have 1 or 2 bands that are already committed to any date to help you out. Maybe you have a band in your club, which is like what our case was with my band. And I already worked with this promoter anyway, but and then throw out potential dates, and you can look up the venues' calendars online usually and see what they have available, see what your group is before you even go to them. Having all that ready is just making these promoters who are also trying to make a living comfortable with hosting you, and that they know what you're doing. So a bit of jargon for you in the local music is the local anchor, and that is the band that the venue entrusts will bring a crowd because they've proven that before. And so, and you know, again, because they want people to come out, they want to make sure that they are booking their venue with a good show. And if you can provide them with a local anchor, someone they're maybe hopefully familiar with or has a good Facebook page or whatever, that's just a band that they trust. And ways you can find local anchors are basically Facebook, I'd say, is very, very good in the way that I think even if you just Googled or just went on Facebook right now and did Columbus musicians, there's always a group in every city where all the bands are there. And in the one in Champaign, where I'm from, we get posts all the time from people saying, hey, we're trying to do a benefit concert, but what bands want to get on this? And there's always a ton of comments because bands just love doing that. And so besides that, you can ask around. Friends of friends, friends bands, those are always good options. The other thing is and I think the best thing is to go out to shows. And if you see who's on bass there, Jesus plays a pretty good bass for my band. It's my bass player, Adam. If you go to shows and go up to bands after the show, hey, that was awesome. I have this club. We're doing a benefit show. Would you be interested? Getting their contacts is invaluable, and just getting some band on your side, because I think that a lot of musicians tend to be pretty liberal, and a lot of them really, really like doing things for charity. I mean, it's just definitely not that hard to do. The best bands to get are the most popular that you can get. And if you can't get a really, really popular, I would say absolutely the best thing that we found was bands that normally play very low-key house shows who aren't even really that popular. And I say this because you're most likely in a campus situation. And there was this one band that I was just at a house party, and they were awesome in the basement. I was like, hey, do you guys want to play a show? They're like, yeah, we've never done that before. And they brought all their friends because they're like, oh, we're playing at the Canopy Club, the stage. And they're like, oh, and you know, for those bands, sometimes your friends and your fans get burned out, and something exciting like this for them just gets a chance to have a very, very big turnout, which is, so I think that's just definitely a big pro tip there. And then I would say don't be too picky about skill levels or genres, because again, this is really just to have fun and include people in the community. And I put a hip hop artist in front of folk singers before. It doesn't really matter because they understand it's kind of a festival atmosphere. And you want to have as many bands as you can. You do want to be careful. Sometimes you can get overwhelmed. If there's too many bands in the setup time when they take down and the new band has to come on, you can kind of get off schedule and it can become a big mess. So just because I had done this before, I knew I was we booked 7 bands, and the promoter actually was like, are you sure you want to do 7 bands one night? Like, yeah, we're doing it. I wanted a lot of people. And so we did it, and it ran on schedule just because I was just right on top of it the whole time, getting people on and off. But as many as you can, you're just going to get more money that way, so that's good. In terms of venue, you want ideally 18 and up, because this is a college function, I'm assuming. If it's not, then that's fine. Play to whatever you're doing. But depends on your kind of local community. Champaign's got the amazing privilege of 18 and up bars, which is awesome. I feel sorry for you if you don't have that, because that's fun. But no. So we had it, and it was good. And the good thing about bars is that it's easy to get bands to play for free, because normally bands always have, or these venues will have bar tabs or drinking tickets that they give their bands just because they're playing there. And so it's very, very easy sell to go to a band like, hey, we'll get you, free drinks if you come play for free, and that's just a way for you to make more money. And from the band's perspective, I love playing shows for drinks. That's fine, no problem, no problem there. The other way to find good venues, if you can't do bars, you can do house shows, you can do student centers. A lot of times, student centers are very, I mean, almost always very receptive. I know probably everyone's union has had live music at some point, so if you can be a part of that, all the more power to you. And there's a little bit of a trick that I learned from a book that I read. I think it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he recommended if there's anybody who knows something that you want to learn, offer to buy them lunch and phrase it in the way to say, yeah, hey, can I buy you lunch sometime if I can pick your brain? People love doing that. I did that as soon as I got into Champaign after I read that book. I called up, I found the most popular band in town, and I offered on Facebook to buy him lunch, and he's like, yeah, let's meet up. And I just stole all of his secrets in an hour over lunch, and it was great. So, but if you get a band member to ask him, what are the good venues? What do you think? You know, I mean, it's just, it would be invaluable, and people always just love giving advice. So, and if there's only one thing that I can get across in this whole thing, if you do put on a concert for college kids, move heaven and earth to make the cover $5. I don't care what you have to do. If you have to sign something, if you have to say we're going to take less money, make the cover $5 because it's a really weird thing. Even if we have the door cover at $7, which doesn't seem like a big deal, it can turn off a bunch of people from coming because I don't know why. I don't get it. Kids are in college, they're worried about money. $5, they're typically, I mean, depending on your town. I mean, sometimes the costs of living are different, but in a small town like Champaign, no one wants to pay more than $5 to do anything. So $5 is the good rule. The other thing is to make sure that you have the door split in writing. What the door split is this another jargon term for promoters, and that is the money that's coming through the door. How does that get distributed? And so you always want to get into writing. We actually made this mistake our first time. Didn't get in writing what the door split was. There was confusion, but actually weirdly ended up making us more money than we would have. So, but regardless, you don't want to have that stress. So get it into writing of what is where's the money going. The best thing to get is a flat door cut, which is we will just charge you $200 per sound guy, and then anything else you make is yours. That's by far the best way to do it. And there's always venues that do things like that. Sometimes they do percentages. We ended up doing one of each just because we wanted to use a really good venue. We had to do percentage. That's fine. We still made good money. And then advertising is really important. The number one thing is to have a catchy name for your event. Amnesty International is a charity, and I think they have some of the highest number of benefit shows a year simply because of the pun they can make with their name into Jamnesty International. I think it's just, I want to go to Jamnesty International, yes, okay. So we have the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. SSA is heavily involved with Light the Night, which is a very separate thing that we kind of tried to combine the two. So we had Light the Night, which was the walk, and so we made our event Rock the Night, and it's just a catchy name, just something that people can remember in all kinds of advertising. Very, very helpful. The next most important thing is to have a Facebook event. Apparently, according to Hemet, Facebook's going away, or less people are using it. I don't know. Right now, definitely the best thing you could possibly do for a show. We had 150 attending, over 180 showed up. Yeah, definitely Facebook. That's how we do anything for our generation at least. And so if you're gonna postering is becoming a little bit less on returns, I would say, in general, but it's still good. You're still going to get people to have this name recognition, and if anything, it just adds a little bit of credibility to what you're doing. And there's actually a very good talk on making posters that was here last year that I saw. I think it was Alan. You can see it on YouTube. I won't go too much into posters, only to say that if you do figure out the rules of graphic design and postering, is that when you're doing these shows, it's okay, once you understand the rules, to go ahead and break them if you want, especially to appeal to your crowd. Champagne's very indie hipstery, so the weirder they get, the better, I think. People they stick out, at least that's what I kind of look for. I remember I saw a poster that was just a city and dinosaurs destroying it, and there was like some small words in the corner. That I was like, this is awesome, and I want to go there. And so it forced me to look and read what it was, mostly because I was confused. But and once I found out, I was like, oh, it's a show. Okay, cool. I could go to that. And so that's an example of one of my graphic design friends made one for us. This is one that we use for the benefit that I made. I'm not a graphic designer, not terribly happy, but that's fine. This is one made by our graphic designer. It was just awesome. There's a goat on the side. I don't know what's going on. I love that. It's great. And so, like just again, play in your crowd. If you're making a hip hop show or a folk show, whatever, you might want to make them a little bit different. But advertising is definitely a good way to go there. Some more, yeah. Like I said, just the weirder the better. They're fun. Other forms of advertising, if you can get on the news, that is awesome. We have a very cool news group in our town, but we got on the campus radio station. They actually brought one of the bands into their studio to play a live set, and then they talked about the charity event, and that was really cool, and rocked the night. We had a catchy name, you know, all these things coming together. And then our city, Champaign, has a very popular online magazine, Smile Politely. It's where everyone goes on that, all the locals, to see what's going on this weekend, and there's a big list, and they actually made a nice write-up for us for another benefit show that we did, and that's very good. So for flyering, Mitch Hedberg has a quote: "When someone hands you a flyer, it's like they're saying, 'Here, you throw this away.'" Flyering has diminishing returns, but we did try to hand out flyers on the quad. I don't think people had too much fun doing that. I don't think we really got any benefit from that. But one thing I do always use flyers, they're called handbills too in the biz. But the one thing I use handbills for is going to my classes. I would print them out and actually hand them to my classmates, people I just knew from class or knew what they looked like. And I actually saw people come to my shows, mostly because maybe they didn't have anything else going on. I don't know, but just that little bit of connection there, I think, for a flyer in a classroom is a lot better than just handing them out to random people on the quad. So other things, which I just call fluff if you want: raffles, booths from other campuses if you want to invite other groups, selling food, having MCs be in the events. MCs at a rock show, it's a little bit impractical. Bands are trying to get on and off stage. We tried that. It was a little bit hectic. That I don't think that worked too well. But if you can make it work, more power to you. All this kind of stuff. Again, just getting back to my first point, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have been doing this for a long time. It's not that hard. If bands are playing, somebody's going to come. If it's just their girlfriend, you know, somebody's going to come. So, yeah, as much as you can do. And the other thing about other groups, the last thing I want to mention is that we did partner with a group once, and we didn't the next time. The benefit, or I guess the con of actually partnering with the group, is they're going to get some of the profit. So we had this group, FIMREC, Foundation for International Medical Relief for Children, another great charity, but we had to give them some of our profit. But we still made more on that show than the other time when we didn't pair with a group. I don't know why. Less people came. It could have been some other kind of reasons, but if you do want to give up some of your profit to partner with the group, also that is, again, you're becoming good representatives, I think, of your secular club, is just because FIMREC they were just a medical, you know, they're doctors mostly, or pre-med people, and I know they had like a very devoutly Catholic person on the board that the president actually warned me about. Like when we sat down the first time, he's like, "Oh yeah, this really," but nothing ever happened. I mean, it's all about having fun, and everyone is cool. I think it's great. I want to leave time for a couple questions, so. Didn't work. Thank you. Oh, thank you.